G'day everybody, Nick Dingler here again. Welcome back to the fourth part of our text-based game tutorial series. In this particular one, we get cracking with the editor, with the level editor that is. And I'm actually going to split this guy into two different videos because unfortunately this guy is a thick and a heavy set kind of fella, but there's going to be a lot of copying and pasting which is going to speed us along, thank God. So if you are ready to go, if you don't have the source code and you're not ready to go, grab the source code in the description of the video where it says starting source code, and let's get cracking because we're going to jump into editor and we're going to add some, I just closed editor, and we're sort of going to get started here. But for the most part, all I want to do to begin with, and I want you to join me as well, I want you to type in sub start editor. Edit row, apparently. Edit row. That is where we're going to begin. So that's the entry point to our level editor. Now, before we do anything, this isn't actually where my program's going to start executing code. Module 1 is. Look at that. I'm getting errors. It's not me. I'm not an idiot. Far out. Anyway, this is where the code actually begins executing in your submain. Hopefully you know that by now. So realistically, I could just type in start editor and I should be good to go. However, in the game video, we're going to add a little bit of extra code here, which is going to choose between starting the editor or starting the game to begin with. But for the moment, that's all I wanted to add so we can start coding off our little Mr. Editor. Let's start at the very top. We have to create a couple of variables for this guy to work, 4 to be in fact, and then we're going to start adding all the code from the bottom to the top. So let's dim running as a boolean equals true, and what this guy is going to do is it controls our main menu. Okay, while running is true, the main menu is continually going to repeat. As soon as it becomes false, turns it off, and the program's going to shut down. We're also going to keep the player starting position as a vector2, just here. So maintain the starting position. All right, and I'll explain why we have that when we get to it. And then we're going to have the actual level class, so dim your level as a level. Don't worry about new level, we'll fix it up later. And then finally, the file name, where we're going to save the bugger. So level information, let's say. All right, that's our starting position. So get that guy typed up, and we're going to start in Start Editor for the moment. Now, there's going to be so many menus in this thing here, because we're going to have a menu for creating the levels and loading the levels, and we're going to have a menu for creating a room and editing a room, and then a menu for the enemies and a menu for the levels, and then and items and stuff like that. So we're going to have menu upon menu upon menu, and that's why we're breaking this guy up into a couple of videos. And I hope it's not going to be too arduous, but let's start by creating a while loop. And you're going to see this in a lot of our functions. While we have a little menu appear, we're going to go while running, and then your menu code is going to go inside of this guy. So the first thing you do there is you're going to clear the screen. So let's clear, and we're going to do this a lot, and then we're going to write the menu to the screen. So let's do a welcome to the text-based game editor. Okay, then the second line we should have, let's copy this guy, and let's go choose from the options below, and we're going to say that a lot during this thing. Okay, and so what are our options? I like to put a few tabs in front of it. First thing is new level. Second thing is load level. So I always use a letter which corresponds with the word that's probably most important. G for go to game. I'm going to get rid of these capitals just so I got some consistency here. All right, and then finally, whenever we want to exit menus, we're going to use the escape key to do that for exit. All right, so that's going to be, now I know I'm emphasizing this way too much for a couple of read lines, but this is going to be the basic template that we're going to use for a lot of other menus. And I don't like that I haven't got an empty line there. Okay, so it's going to say welcome, empty line, choose from the following options. There's your 4 options. Now, the way we're always going to get these options is by a read key. So selection as a console key equals console read key dot, and then we're going to go dot key, I'm pretty sure. Yep. Get the user selection. All right, and then the final thing we do is check what they've pressed. What did they select? And then we do our good old if statements. So if selection equals, and so obviously N is going to be the first one. Notice how it filled that in for me, everyone, is console key .n, and then I'm just going to put in the rest of it before we go any further. Else if selection equals G, then else if selection equals ESC will give you escape. All right. So this is what we have to fill up, and these are all the things that we have to do, and that's probably a really good order in which to do them. Obviously, the new level is going to come before we load levels, and the load level is going to come before we go to game, and then this one here is the exception to the rule. Okay, so let's do the escape first. When they press escape and they want to exit, we simply have to set running to false. So if you go running equals false, that will actually shut down your menu, and that'll be it for the time. All right. Next thing is we need to set up a sub for our new level. So I'm actually just going to type in new level. I know it's going to give me an error, but that's going to be the name of our sub for the moment. I'm going to put a comment in there, load level, and then start game. Okay, a couple of comments just so I don't get errors, and I can worry about uncommenting them at a later point. Okay, if you need time to type that up, pause the video, type it up, because I'm going to scroll up, and we're going to start adding our stuff just here. So sub new level. All right, no more error here, and we can start coding our things in here. So when they ask for a new level, we're actually got to ask them a fair few questions. We've got to ask them what's the name of the level, how big is it, how high is it, and then we've got to check those details, and if they're okay, we create the level, and then we start editing it. So we've got a fair bit to do here, and let's get cracking into it. So let's ask them for all their details. First thing, clear the screen. Ask for the level details. So, console.writeLine, details, enter the details of your level below. I like an empty write line after questions like that. And then let's just do the questions. So the name of the level, what the hell is that? Yep, let's do a read line, name as a string equals console read line. Nothing special here. Then we're going to ask them the height and the width. Bloop, bloop. Change that to, feels natural to say height first for some reason, but anyway. That's going to be the height, and that's going to be as an integer. That's going to be the width, and that's going to be as an integer. Okay, so they're the three details that we need. Check their inputs are okay. If the name does not equal empty, and the width is greater than 0, and the height is greater than 0, then we do stuff. Okay. Otherwise, it's going to take them back to the main menu for the moment, and I'm just going to leave it like that. If you want to do an else in there and tell them they're wrong, that's all good. Ensure we have the file extension. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, when you create a file in Windows, you've got to have a .doc or .txt or .something on the end, because that generally indicates what type of file it's going to be. So for this one, we're going to have a .lvl, .level. And so what we're basically doing is we're saying, okay, has the user already put that .lvl on the end of the name of the level? If they have, then we're not going to add it. If they haven't, then we have to add it on for them. And the way we would do that is check the last 4 characters of the name and see if they are .lvl. If they are not, then we're going to append or add another word, add it onto the name. So if the right, so this is going to grab characters from the right-hand side. From name, we want 4 characters. Let's go to upper. And you're going to see this a lot, me converting strings to upper, because I want to check just the uppercase version and not every other version that exists. So if the last 4 characters do not equal .lvl, then let's add it on. So add on LVL, just like that. Okay, then let's create the map. Oh, why do I keep saying map? Level. All right, so this is going to be file name equals name. And the reason I've done that line is because we can store it up here in the top while we're running the program. We continually can use it when we're saving the game. Level is going to equal a new one, new level. And then let's call new level just here. So we need the width and we need the height. So width, height. I'm going to swap these back around. I'm sorry. I know that's tedious, but everything else is width and height. So anyway, so let's create the level. We're then going to save it. We haven't set that up yet, and then we're going to start editing. All right, and that's literally all we have to do, thankfully. So I'm going to go save level. I know it's going to cause an error, and then we're going to go edit level. And I know that's going to cause an error. So we've got two subs that we have to write. Let's start with our good old friend, the save level. So let's scroll up a little bit. Sub save level. Okay, good, got rid of the error. Okay, now this is going to be the most annoying thing. Really, to save the level, all we have to do is call on our save function that we wrote. So if you go level dot save, oh, you know what? That's going to cause a few issues, isn't it? Silly, silly, silly me. I should not have called these the same things. I'm going to rename this to LVL. That was a bit dumb, because now this is what I needed. When I type in level, I need these guys, save and load. Sorry about that. Just change that to LVL and make sure that it's LVL down here as well. And you're good to go. So level.save, what do we want to save? LVL, and then the file name is going to be file name. So that's why I did it the way I did it. Now really, that's all we have to do when we save the level. But the player starting position. All right, let me just talk about, basically, when we save our level, this player position is going to be where the player starts within our level. But in the editor, we're also using player position to move around the level and figure out where we want to go. So what we're going to do is we're not going to utilize this as the player starting position when we're editing. We're going to use this as the player starting position. But when we save, we've actually got to set the player starting position into here. Okay, save the level and then revert it back to what it was before. I know how stupid that sounds, but this is the easiest way to do it. So the first thing is we're going to back up the current player position from the level. So dim current position as a vector 2 equals level dot player position. All right, we're then going to use the player starting position. So player position equals player starting position. So we're finally grabbing this guy and jamming him inside the level. We then save, and then we reset the position back to what it was. So you go level player position equals current position. So we grab out the current position, replace it with the starting position, save it, and then revert it back to where we were. So the editor can be anywhere it wants, but the player position will always stay what you've selected. Okay, when we start getting through this a little bit more, that might make a bit more sense as you go through it. So save, what am I saying, save? Save level is done. Pause the video if you need time to type that up. Let me just scroll down a little bit. We still need to do edit level. So let's go above save level and let's type in edit level and let's get cracking. This guy is going to be huge. Now, when I said you're going to see running lots and the while loop lots and the menu lots, this is only the beginning, okay? That's the first one. We now need another running variable for each time we have a menu. So I'm going to have an edit running as a Boolean just here. So running is for the entire menu system. Edit running is just for the edit level system. And that's why this is going to become so big. So let's go while edit running. Okay. We're going to show the level menu and go from there. So let's clear the screen. Let's have the current room they're standing in. Let's put that to a string. Let's go current room. And let's put an ampersand, which is level player position to string. And so that'll show us the X and Y that they're currently standing on. And then we're going to have the current room's details, so like the name and the description. And that comes from our .print that we set up. So the current room, and let's put in some good old hyphens right across. Yep. And right here, it's going to have LVL current room .print, and then another set of lines. And now we're going to have the menu options there. Okay, an empty space. And then I like to say select What did I say in my other menu? I want to get it exactly the same. Sorry, choose from the options below. So choose from the options below. Yeah, just like so, and then let's give them some options here. Tab, tab. Arrows are going to be a set of keys that they can use. So move north, south, west, or east. Just like so. Second option they're going to have is editing the room. Well, let's go R first. And have edit room. And then have E, edit enemies. I, edit items, as you can probably imagine. And then finally S. Or actually, it should be P for this one. S is probably a silly one. Set player starting position. All right, and then escape. We need escape for exit. Exit. Okay, and we do the same thing. Dim selection as a console key equals console.read key dot key. Okay, as I said, you'll see that a lot in this. If you need to pause the video and go now, please do, because I'm about to write up a big if statement and it's going to go off the screen. So let's go now, check what they selected. If the selection equals the up arrow, then we're going to do stuff. If the selection equals the down arrow, we're going to do stuff. Else if the selection equals the left arrow, we're going to do stuff. And so forth. The right arrow, that's not what I wanted. Yep, that's better. And now we have to put in all these buttons. So let's start with selection equals R. And let's go with selection equals I. And selection equals E. Selection equals selection equals escape. Whew. Okay, whenever we have the escape selection, that's going to set our running variable to false, not this one, just the one for our sub. So edit running equals false. And that's going to jump out of this menu when they're ready. And now all these things here are going to be a lot of subs, except for the up, down, left, and right arrows, because we already programmed our level to be able to move around it. That's what's so great about this. So when they press the up arrow, they're going north. So let's go level.move player. The direction we want to move is north, and yes, it's coming from the editor. So it'll ignore blocked walls. Same thing for the down arrow, except for we're going south. This is why we set up the directions. This is why we set up the editor variable. This is why we set up move player. That just makes your life a lot easier. Okay, so the up arrow, the down arrow, the left arrow, and the right arrow are done. Let's take a break and press play and just make sure all of that works at this point. So welcome to text-based game editor. Let's go new level. Level 0 is 5 by 5, and we're in our world, which is fantastic. So let's make sure we can move around a bit. Okay, I'm a bit of an idiot. I've got my left and right arrows around the wrong way. So you probably noticed that when I started typing. Apologies. I'm going to have to make a new level again, 5 by 5. That's better. All right. And if I press escape a couple of times, it exits the program for me. All right, so that so far is pretty good. We've done pretty well for that. Now what we have to do is put together the hard stuff, the editing rooms, editing enemies, editing items. Before we attack the edit room, because that's going to go into a heap of different menus, I'd like to attack the enemies and the items and the player starting position, because those are going to be probably some of the easier ones that we do. So, I'm a goose. I've got ER and I didn't include P for player starting position. I am an absolute goose. All right, so let's start with the edit enemies. That's going to be by far the easiest. Well, actually, enemies and items are about exactly the same. So let's set up two things. Let's come down here. Let's go edit enemies. And let's come up and create a sub edit enemies. Alright, dim edit, enemy running as Boolean equals true. Okay, I said we're going to see that lots, and I'm not bloody wrong. Okay, let me just find my code sheet, which has got that on it. Edit enemy, no. Yes, there it is. Found it. Stop looking. Okay, no. I've dropped him. Okay, you'll never believe how much paper I've got in front of me with all this kind of crap. So, edit enemy, so enemy running. So let's do a while enemy running. Let's draw the menu. Show the enemy menu. So this, you've got to remember, is we're editing enemies for the entire level to be here. So let's go console.clear, console.writeLine, editing level enemies, ... Let's have an empty right line, just a nice little space. Let's go current enemies in the level, colon. And now we have to loop through each enemy. For each enemy as humanoid in level.enemies. Okay, and let's write them to the screen. Right line. Tab, tab. Matt, get over there. Tab, tab. Let's go enemy.toString. Yep. Okay. Underneath the loop, let's show the menu. So, console right line, choose from the options below. Copy paste. Let's put a couple of tabs. Tab, tab. A for add enemy. E for edit enemy. R for remove enemy, and then escape. ESC for exit. Alright, and now let's dim a selection as a console key equals console.read, read key.key. Check what they selected. If selection equals, can you see how repetitive this is going to be? I'm sorry, but this is just the way it is if we're going to do it via a console. Selection equals R, else if selection equals escape. Alright, let's do escape first because it's enemy running equals false. If you need time to type that up, people, please do it now because we're now going to do the add enemy function right now. So scroll up a little. Whoop. Add enemy. Sub add enemy. And let's do it all in here. So basically all we're going to do is we're going to build up a humanoid class and then add it into our list of enemies. That's how easy it's going to be. So dim enemy as a new humanoid. No details, because now we need to ask for them. So ask for the enemy details. First of all, let's just tell them where they are. Adding a new enemy, console.write name to start with. Then we do a read line, dim name as enemy.name equals console.readline, and then we do the same thing for everything else. So we've got min damage, max health. I think that was it. Yeah, that's it. Awesome. That's all we need. Okay. So min damage, max damage, max health. And let's change this bad boy here. Min, max, and then let's add him in. So that's the add. Yep. So level.enemies.add. And then we tell them they're done. Console write line. Done. Console read line. Oh my god. All that effort just to add one enemy. How's that? We're doing pretty good so far. If you're still with me, you're making good time. So let's press play. Let's make a new level. Level 0. Or level 9 apparently. Let's go edit enemies, add an enemy. His name is Bob. Minimum damage 1, max damage 2, health 100. How good's that? There's Bob, right there. Love my work. Add another one. Not Bob. He's 4 to 5. He's got 50 health. There's Bob and not Bob. And now I can just escape to exit the program. Okay. Before we go too far, let's do the edit enemy and the remove enemy. They're going to be slightly different. So let's start with edit enemy, just here. Let's go above add enemy here, sub edit enemy. Let's add this bad boy in right now. So there's my code. Nope, that's not my code. 3. Must be on page 1. There you are. Okay, so first thing we need to do with the edit is we actually need to display a list of enemies that exist in a level, let them choose from those enemies, and then we do the editing. So if the level enemies dot count is greater than 0, then we have enemies to edit. Otherwise, just tell them no enemies in the level. Alright, I'll just do a read line down here for the future purposes. Console.readline. And we're doing editing right now. So first things first, display a menu of enemies that they're going to choose from. So clear the console. Go current enemies in level. Do an empty one because I always like empty ones. I've already said that 50 times already. And then let's display a list of those enemies. Sorry, I'm not going to have a bloody empty one there. So let's go for I equals 0 to level.enemy, level.enemies dot count -1, and then we print each enemy off with a number in the front and then the name on the back. So this is going to be console.readline, couple of tabs, and then we put I after that space, a dash, and then level, enemies, I to string. And that's just going to print their names. So it'll say 0 is Bob, 1 is not Bob, and so forth. And we're going to use that number to select who we want to edit. So console.write, enter the number of the enemy to edit. Like so, and then we go dim, index as an integer equals the console.readline. And then let's start editing. So edit the enemy just here, and this is going to be really long-winded. And the reason it's long-winded is I like to allow them to skip over certain fields. So we're going to print the enemy to the screen, okay? And then as we go down, we're going to ask them for the name. If they enter a name, then we're going to update it. If they don't enter a name, we're going to skip over it. So we need to get an input from the user. We then need to check if it's empty. If it is empty, then we need to continue. Oh, sorry, if it is empty, we continue. If it isn't empty, we update it. So it's very long-winded, unfortunately, but let's get, first of all, the message to the screen. So console, write line, LVL, enemies, index, because that's the one they typed in, dot print. We only ever use this in the editor, and this is where we use it. Okay, and let's get each detail one at a time. Ask for their name to start with. Dim name as a string. Notice how I'm not putting it inside the enemy straight away. So if the name does not equal an empty string, then level enemies with the index dot name equals the new name. And we need to do that for every single field. Max health, min damage, max damage. Okay, so let's copy. Let's do min damage at the moment. Min damage. Min damage. I'm going to leave it as a string so I can check if it's empty. So if min damage is not empty, then what we do is we convert it with C double. Stands for convert to double, basically. And this is going to be repeated for max damage, max health. Okay, blip, max damage, max max damage, and max, not health, damage. And then last but not least, let's do max health. Max health. Bloop, bloop, bloop. Oh, I hope that wasn't too bad, everybody, because now we are, right line, done. If you need to pause the video and type that up, please do so, because this is literally all that we're going to do for the moment. And we're going to go back and do remove enemy, which is going to be incredibly similar. But for the moment, I think that we are done with edit enemy. So, save, scroll back down, let's do remove enemy. Get that guy working first before we do any testing. Scroll back up. We're going to pop him just here, sub, remove enemy. And same sort of thing. We need to check if there are any enemies. If there are, we're going to print them out. And then if they choose a number, then we're going to delete it. So if there's no end, let me just quickly put in, just here, no enemies in current level. And then put a read line just here for shits and giggles. And then we're going to get the index. So I'm going to scroll down again, everybody. Sorry, I'm stealing this much of the edit enemy because we're doing the exact same thing. No confirmation, I'm just going to remove it. So level enemies dot remove at index. And then just give them a nice big done. Okie doke. So I hope that wasn't too bad. I really should be using more comments here. I'm sorry that I haven't actually done that. But realistically, in that amount of time, we've got adding, editing, and removing all of the enemies in the game. So let's quickly start it. Let's create a new level, level 0, 5 by 5. All right, so far so good. Let's edit our enemies. Let's add a Bob with a 1 and a 2 and a 100. Let's add a non-Bob. Let's have a 3 and a 4 and a 50. And let's go to edit. So as you can see, we've got 0 and 1 just here. I'm going to select 0 for Bob. So his new name, I'm not going to rename him, but I'm going to go maximum damage, or min damage I should say. Let's say he wants 2, and his max damage is 2. Max health I'm going to leave, and that's it. So let's try removing non-Bob, and there he is. So this is 100% done, everybody. But there's one last thing that we've got to do. If we come back to the main menu where we called edit enemies, okay, this is actually all complete, by the way. So edit enemies. After we're editing the enemies, after we're finished with that, we're best off saving the level. Now, what I want to do is I actually want to take that power away from the user, and every time they do a major change to a room, an enemy, or an item, or the player position, we save the level. So right here, I'm going to go save level, just like so. Now, I'm going to set you a really, really big challenge. I want you to do the exact same thing we did for edit enemies, but for items. So you're going to have the ability to add, edit, and remove the items as well. I'm going to pause the video. I'm going to come back when I'm done. If you do get stuck, there'll be the source code for the end of this video with all that stuff in it. But give it a shot, everybody. I know you're up to it. All right, I'll see you soon. Okay, hopefully you went all right. I've gone in and I've added the edit items and the save level in my main menu, and then I've gone up and I've added the edit items, add item, edit item, and remove item menus. So literally all I did was copy and paste all of the code that I had for the enemies ones, and I've gone through and ensured that everything has been turned over to an item, and that I've moved all of the properties to an item as well. I'll tell you what I mean by that in just a second. So you can see this is exactly the same. I've gone through all the items in the level, and then I've added, edit, remove item, and I've got all those subs set up as well. If we go back up to here, this is my add item sub now. Adding a new item. Don't forget we've got name, look at, pick up, so can they actually pick it up, the min damage and then the max damage. So this is probably the tricky one. I wonder how you went with that. As I was going through it, I realized that I hadn't really explained how you get a Boolean value from the user. So what I'm really doing here, because Booleans are true and false, basically if you think about it, I'm allowing them to type in Y or N. But realistically, Y will work for true, and then N will work for everything else. They can type in anything they want, and it'll be N otherwise. So this right here is what you call just a quick condition. All right, so there's my console.read line. I'm converting whatever they type in straight away to an uppercase, and I'm checking if what they typed in was a Y. With just this here, I'm saying, is what they've typed in equal to a Y, true or false? And so if they typed in a Y, then it will return true. Otherwise, it's going to set it to false. So that there's what you call, it's actually called an inline if, really, sort of. And that's going to quickly grab it, convert it into a Boolean, and set it for me. And then add it in and finish it up. So that's probably the only difficult part there for the add item. And the last one was the edit item. We had to do that sort of again, where I've got pickup to upper equals capital Y. I hope you went all right for that. Again, if you really get stuck and you didn't like it at all, the source code's down the bottom for the finish of this video, but we've got one last thing that we have to do before I get into editing the room, because that's the big one, and that is set player starting position. This one's going to be quite easy, and I'm going to add them right at the top, so control home, sub, set player starting position. Let's clear the screen to start with, everyone. Get up there, console.clear, get the coords from the user. So let's first of all say what they're doing, setting the starting position of the player, ... Okay, empty line, because I like empty lines. And then let's ask for the X position, dim X as an integer equals console.readline. And let's do that for the Y. And the reason I do this and not set it right in there is I'm going to check them now. Check if the position is good. So if X is greater and equal to 0 and X is less than the level width, and we'll do the same for Y is greater than equal to 0 and Y is less than the level height, then we're good to go. There you go, player starting position dot X equals X, player starting position dot Y equals Y. All right, done. So let's tell them just here, console.writeLine, done. Okay, that was a pretty quick one, that one. So one thing I did forget in the main menu was to save the level, but that is pretty much 100% done. Once you got that code, let's make sure in our edit level, I've got save level, just here, because any changes they make to the level I want to save. Last things last is we need to do the edit room sub, and that's going to take a long time. So thank you for bearing with me. Thank you for joining me, and I hope to see you in the next video where we're going to finish up the editor, and then the last video we're going to put together the game, which I can guarantee you is a lot shorter than the editor or the game classes. So see you then, everybody. Thanks for watching this one.